table. Find your own container at your nearest local grocery store today.
Sometimes good people make mistakes. When you find yourself in need of an attorney, call Liberty Law Group. The attorneys at Liberty Law Group will defend you in court and protect your freedom to get you the best possible outcome and the justice you deserve. Trust your freedom to Liberty Law Group, the best criminal attorneys in Nebraska and Iowa. Call them today at 877-404-5238. That's 877-404-5238. Or check them out online at libertylawgroup.com.
Hey guys, it's Carly from Boyd Farm Outfitters. Farmers, the Nebraska Ag Expo is coming up on December 9th through 11th at the Sandhills Global Event Center, and we'd love to see you there. Our team will be in two places at once, in the Boyd Farm Outfitters booth and the Green Eye Technology booth, which are both in the Currency building. In the meantime, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and X at BoydFO to see what we've been working on. Again, that's BOECKFO on social media. We look forward to seeing you at the Expo.
Staying profitable means finding smarter, more efficient ways to farm. Those decisions turn hard work into something worth passing down. Join us at the Sandhills Global Event Center in Lincoln for the Nebraska Ag Expo on December 9th through 11th, where agriculture meets innovation. From big iron and livestock production to the latest in ag tech and soil health, discover the solutions that can help you do more with less and protect your legacy for generations to come. Sponsored in part by Farm Credit Services of America and Ag Direct.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Here we are, off and rolling on Ticket Weeknights on a Monday, a surprisingly busy Monday in Husker land. Would have had lots to talk about anyways, but now even more so than ever, we got plenty on the plate. We will talk about it all, as always, on Monday nights with Tom Shatel of the Omaha World Herald, who joins us now on our Allo Fiber VIP line. Tom, we're in mid-December. Christmas is just around the corner, and I guess Christmas came early for us. We got plenty to talk about tonight. How are you, sir?
I'm good. What a time. It's kind of incredible. That I mean, you know, if you think about what happened Sunday, what's going on? Well, actually, Saturday with Nebraska basketball, and Sunday with volleyball, and now to top it off, news breaking today. And I kind of had an inkling it might, because the quarterback portal seemed to open today. Obviously not open officially, but a lot of quarterbacks, and maybe it's that time of the year when contracts are up, but. A lot of quarterbacks announcing that they're on the move today. So, initially, Austin, my thought is what everybody else is thinking. This was not a surprise. The surprise probably would have been if he stayed at this point. And I think that the vibe I'm getting from Nebraska fans is that they're okay with it. I think I'm not sure Dylan had kind of reached the limit, but it felt like there's still a lot of work to do with the offensive line, and now they got to figure out the running back position. And it just looks like the offense needs to be reset, and it needs to have a direction other than having a quarterback in the pocket who's getting sacked 9 times. I mean, that's not an offense. So, Dylan was a guy that, his legacy will be that he came in and he gave Matt Rule credibility, 5-star credibility right out of the gate. He attracted other people to come to the program. He attracted other recruits. And so he was never going to really, he talked one about changing the program, turning it around. I think he helped do that with back-to-back winning seasons. But the fact that he was learning and developing himself and making mistakes, and then because Matt Rule was developing from the ground up, building from the ground up, he was not necessarily going to the portal. He was trying to build, with the guys they had, and then going out and get high school kids, and so he, Dillon was never surrounded with the right offensive line, or a good receiver is not necessarily a guy. This is not a program that had been in year 4 or 5. It had everything. The cupboard was stocked. This was a program building, and certainly getting some guys from the portal, and sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. So that whole thing, it kind of minimized what impact he could have. I think. I think he's all about getting drafted, having an NFL career. He's better off being in a program for that, where he can play in an offense that has all those things. The offensive line that's going to protect him, the NFL receivers, so on and so forth. And an offensive coordinator that's going to showcase him, and he's going to playing some big time games on national stage to show the NFL what he can do in those kind of games. Those things are happening right now in Nebraska. So I think also it's good for Nebraska. It gives Rule and Holgerson a chance to, what are we doing on offense going forward? They've got a running guy there already in Latif. They've got another one on the way, Trey Taylor. So it seems to me this would be a good time to kind of establish an identity, for this offense in going forward, and what are going to be very important seasons ahead.
I want to jump right back to that. But first, Tom, something you said kind of struck me based on what people in and around the Raiola camp have said. Some reporting said Raiola is seeking a program where he can thrive and best harness his potential while developing for the next steps of his career. On the one hand, that sounds a little damning for Nebraska. You weren't that place for me anymore, is what it seems to be that Dylan Raiola is saying. Is it that Nebraska wasn't that program, or that it's going to be a struggle for Nebraska to become that program for the next guy? Is it that they can't be that, or just that they weren't that right now?
Well, they couldn't. There's no way that they could have been, because, again, like I said, Rule is taking over. He's not Kurt Signetti bringing 30 people with him. He came from he couldn't bring 30 Carolina Panthers with him to Nebraska. So he decided to come here, not go into portal, and coach the guys that were here under Scott Frost. So this has been a program that is probably a little slower than a lot of fans would want, but it's been building slowly. He's ready to. I always felt like he came to Nebraska. Sure, there was money, whatever, $3 million, whatever. Sure, there was money, but I think he came here as kind of a gesture for his dad and his family. I think a lot of these quarterbacks now, they feel like they're going to have 2 moves in them. I'm going to go somewhere and get established, and then I'm going to move, or I'm going to, and that's fine. That's kind of how the game's played now. Not many guys are staying 4 years. I don't know very many at all. Nebraska's not that program, but it's not. It's people that thought they could be Oregon or Ohio State in 3 years. I mean, Indiana is, but we've been through that a million times. I'm not going to go there, but you know what I mean. It wasn't that the program has to be the most important thing, not the athlete or the player. It's a big name. I feel like, Nebraska, he got here, and, I don't even know what kind of offense Marcus Satterfield ran, or I'm sure, I don't think it would fit Dylan. I don't think it mattered I think whatever offense they were going to run those first year of Dylan was going to be for him. It was going to be almost like his offense, because it was going to have to fit what he did well. Because he was something like he was so big, everything was kind of about making him happy, kind of building around him, and he had his good games, and his other games he wasn't great. Yeah, I think he did well at times. I think the USC game probably was his best game, ironically, and the last game. And I always think that they would have beaten USC if he'd stayed healthy. So I just feel like this is best for everybody. The program has to be the thing, and you can't build the program around one player, especially a guy who's probably going to leave or might leave. So they have to do what's best for Nebraska football, and now I think they have a chance to like a reset. And the first order of business for me would be okay. Let's put that money that's available now into the offensive line. Let's not. I don't think we need any more $3 million quarterbacks. Because hot shot $3 million quarterbacks don't really do anything without blocking. So let's put some money into the offensive line. I like quarterbacks like the guy at Oklahoma, the guy at Iowa this year. The Joe Gans type guys. I think sometimes the kid in Indiana, Fernando, is not a highly rated guy. He went to Cal. I mean, I don't think he had a bunch of offers out of Cal. I mean, he's a gamer. I like those kind of guys. So I'm not saying, and I think that with quarterback, you have to spend money. That's just the way it is. But I think they should be a little more careful with that, and maybe spread the love around and get some linemen going, because it's the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Big Ten is not about quarterback. It's about linemen.
I think that's fair. Before we move on to that, where Nebraska should invest in the identity, because that's a huge piece of this conversation, especially that word reset. I do think, Tom, it is important to point out that there's absolutely a difference between building a program, building an offense, in this case, around a quarterback's strengths, putting him in position to succeed, and making sure that he's comfortable in that way, versus like pampering him, right? And, giving him stuff he hasn't earned yet and giving him different rules to play by than anyone else. We know the nature of the quarterback position is different than any other position in sports based on its kind of singular importance in a lot of ways. But there's got to be a difference between making sure a guy is comfortable in the offense and what you're asking him to do, and making sure that still comes with legitimate accountability and not giving him different rules or special treatment or attention just because he's the quarterback or had a big, well-known name.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what Matt Rule will probably do now. I think, when Del Rella 3 years ago says, I want to come to Nebraska, you don't turn him down. You don't say, no, sorry, we don't, we can't, we don't want to do, no, you take it. And he jumpstarts the program. He gives you credibility, but along with that, you have to take care of him. And it becomes this thing where, it's kind of a balancing act. So I think the most important thing a program can have is identity, and who are you, how you play football, not necessarily what offense are you running, but how do you play football? What do you lean on when times are tough? And, I think Rule knows what he wants, but we've been a little slow to get there when we've got Phil Snow telling us that the defense didn't know what calls were being made. So you're still getting blown out, in year 3. So we're a little slow to get there. But I just think this is a good opportunity to say, here's our offense. Here's what we're going to identify when we're looking at, and I think one of your colleagues, Nick, this afternoon tweeted out, it's a good tweet about, and now we'll find out what kind of evaluators these guys are. I agree with that. I think it's important to establish the offense and what you want to be first, and then go find guys who fit that. And so, I would not just haphazardly go look at the best names and try to get them to come to Nebraska. I think what you do is establish what you want to be, how you want to win, how you want to move the ball, and what kind of players fit that. And then you go get those guys, and then you go win games. So
I think a big part of that too, Tom, will be the offensive coordinator and the head coach getting on the same page. It still seems to me like an odd sort of marriage between those two. I get the addition, why it happened. I like Dana Holgorsen as a play caller, but if he's going to have to be dragged kicking and screaming into what Matt Rule wants to do, I get it. No, he said the right things. We're a run the ball team now. We have to be a run the ball team now. Emmett's playing really well. We got to get Emmett the ball. But if that's not really what Dana Holgorsen stands for, if the personnel and the players are going to be reset, and I'm not trying to take this as a fire Dana Holgorsen take, not at all. I'm just saying, Matt Rule, if you're going to get the quarterback position right, it comes through being in alignment with your offensive coordinator, making sure you're on the same page and knowing what it is that you're looking for. I think you both have to be able, as the head coach and offensive coordinator, to not just be okay with a guy. You have to love the guy at the quarterback position, whether it's TJ Lateef, whether it's someone from the transfer portal. When you talk about a reset, this is where Matt Rule and Dana Holgorsen have to be crystal clear, 100% perfectly honest with each other about what it is they actually truly want to do and accomplish.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Austin. I think that, and I guess I've heard Dana say he likes to run the ball, and he'll do that, and he has done that. But again, I wonder if is it because we've seen him throw so many times. It's because when we've got Dylan Riley, we have to do it because he's there. We don't want to. We don't want to not throw it because he's. We don't want to not do what he can do, or he'll get mad and leave, or this or that. So I don't know if Dana is this or that yet. I think Dylan kind of skewed that a little bit, right? We don't know. Everything had to be for Dylan in a way, but of course, if it's your best player and your big talent, it's crazy to not do that. But again, the offensive line, you're a shotgun and you're in the pocket and you're getting sacked and you're still calling plays to do that. So I think this is a good chance, like you said, to sit down and do that. Okay, what are we? I almost feel like Dana was brought in. I think Dana's a ball coach. Okay, I think he can coach anything. He can coach any style, and I think he'll drop a scheme for whatever talent he's got. I really think he's that kind of guy, and I love those kind of guys. Okay, but I just feel like, okay, what do we want to be here? And I feel it's good they brought in Dana to. He was like a fix-it guy. Okay, middle of the season, hey man, our offense sucks. We can't move it. Things aren't working. Would you please come in here and help us? He's sort of a consultant, right? Offensive coordinator with 3 or 4 games left, and he got things moving. He got the car moving, and so they kept him. But I don't know if he was hired with a certain offense in mind going forward. That's a good question to ask him tomorrow when he talks, I guess. So, yeah, I think this is a good time, and really, they need to. Right now they need to figure out what they want to do going forward, and they have done that on defense. Hopefully, because they cannot keep changing coaches. You're not going to move anything forward when you have different voices every year, different people. It just doesn't work. So they got to settle in. So hopefully Dana Holgorsen is the guy, and he's going forward, and you give him a medium to long-term deal and let him just cook for a while. I don't think Matt Rule is going to get involved in the offense, but certainly he's the CEO. It's his show. So I agree with you 100%. Get on the same page and go. And I think, a running quarterback, man, it gives people problems. It worked against UCLA, but when you're playing against better defenses, you need more pieces around you. But and I think Lateef is still earning. So that's another question. Do you go with him next year, or do you go with the portal? I mean, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, no, that's right where I was going to go next, Tom, because there's been a lot of talk already about the schedule for Nebraska in 2026. And I don't know what the coaching staff's perspective on that is, what their approach is. We know Matt Rule's been in both sides of Nebraska needs more money, Nebraska needs more resources to be able to invest. And then late in the year, he changed his tune. We have everything we need. We're all good. Thanks to everyone. And we can go be competitive for any player in the country. Tom, is next year a year for Nebraska to go out, continue to spend big bucks to try to get the best talent? Or could next year be that, like we've said the word reset, and I think obviously there's a certain sense of urgency around Nebraska football that you can't ever afford to take a step back, right, and just kind of breathe, because you have to be pedal to the metal. Every year counts, and a pretty big year for Matt Rule. But if this is a program that needs some time to figure out its identity, this is a program that, maybe it feels like internally it's not one or two pieces away on either side of the ball. If Nebraska's 3 or 4 pieces away, Tom, maybe this is more tenable if this was, true professional sports versus just a professionalized college sports. But in my mind, there's an argument for Nebraska to not be passive in the transfer portal and in terms of splashing money around, but certainly to be selective. If next year you don't think is your year, if you see that there's maybe vulnerabilities in the conference in 2027 and you want to gear up for that, I could see a world where Nebraska maybe doesn't go out and pay super top dollar for these 1 year kind of mercenary guys, but instead maybe spends a little bit less on some more developmental guys and treats 2026 like hey, let's see what the young bucks got. The guys that have been in the program. Is our developmental process and system working, especially on the offensive and defensive lines? If it's not working, there's an overhaul. If it is working, then you'll see signs of progress in 26, and you can really load up for what could be a special 27.
See, I like that. I like that a lot. And you may have to have earplugs next year, because I don't think the bowl game necessarily is going to go well. And then the schedule next year, it looks like a 7-5 type of thing to me. I mean, just off the top of my head. But you need to, we'll get to next year when we get to next year. I mean, we're not going to set expectations now, but I'm just saying, I think that's a great plan, and people need to be on board with that. And that is, where you might take a step back to go a couple big steps later. We're here right now in a lot of ways. And you're going to lose your quarterback. You can't worry about Dylan Riley leaving. He's probably always going to leave. So you can't worry about what that does to anything. Because most programs deal with that all the time. So, but we're here with this offensive line situation because he kept Donovan Raiola from Scott Frost. He thought he saw something in him and he liked, and he thought he could use the guy. And so, and I think that first year he didn't have a college staff. He just had to call a bunch of his old buddies together and go, help me get this thing started. And he was going to get the right guys later, like Dana Holgerson and Mike Eckler, and Addison, the secondary coach, and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. But the offensive line thing probably could have been taken care of a couple of years ago, too. I'm not sure why we had to wait this long to do that, if that's what he thought he had to do. And the defensive coordinator situation, it seemed like it was just from the quotes I'm hearing from Rule and from Phil Snow is more about, seemed to be a defense built on scheme. And I just think the Big Ten is not about scheme. It's about one-on-one, beating somebody one-on-one. We're going to line up and we're going to run over you, and we dare you to stop us. That's what the Big Ten is, and that's how you win games in this league. I wonder if sometimes John Butler got caught up in saying the NFL was more about scheme, and NFL, they don't run the ball very much, do they? It's all about passing. So I feel like he might have been just a bad fit from the beginning in that sense. I don't know. But anyway, we're here with hopefully the right coordinator now. So, yeah, I think your idea of it reminds me of my Dodgers, my 2-time back-to-back world champion Dodgers, who the year before going after Shohei Ohtani, they didn't go after anybody, and the fan base, God love them, was not happy. Why aren't we going after people? And we just lost to the Padres in the playoffs where the D-backs swept us. Why aren't we? And the Dodgers sat back and said, we've got a farm system full of guys. We want to find out who can play. And we're saving our money for next year when we're going to go all in on the big guy. And so that's what happened. And they ended up finding out the young guys who could play, and they ended up probably trading a few of them, right? So to get the bigger pieces. So I like your thought. I think that's a good thought.
I did get some pushback on that. We didn't get a chance to dive fully into it on our previous show, but just because I spitball it here, Tom, let's say that Nebraska goes 5-7 next year. 7-5 is an optimistic one. Maybe 5-7 is also on the table. But if they go 5-7, but then they're 9-3 or 10-2 the next year, wouldn't that be better to Husker fans than 2 more years of 7-5? I feel like a year of 9 or 10 would have them knocking right there on the door of the playoff. And obviously that's not a guarantee if you follow the plan that I'm laying out. But I do feel like this football program has done the let's throw money at it and hope it fixes it route, and it just hasn't worked. I do think that with the guy that came in and in some ways really defined the early part of Matt Rule's tenure, with that guy at the quarterback position out the door, if you're ever going to press that reset button, now feels like the time with the quarterback out the door, new defensive coordinator, and staff changes again in this sort of schedule. Fans don't want to hear it, but it's got to at least be on the table.
I love that. I really do love it. I think it's a good idea. I think, we've all forgotten about the 3-year plan, right? That there is a 3-year plan. The 3-year plan, is going to the Las Vegas Bowl, and so I'm playing as a heavy underdog. This might be a 5 to 6, 7-year plan, and I'm okay with that. It's just Nebraska has to stop firing coaches, and yet my younger self can't believe I said that. But you're right, we can't just you can't. If there's a lesson out there right now, look at what Michigan has to do. Look at what they're having to. The selection is not great. I mean, it's okay, but I mean, and look at the openings that we had in college football, and the SEC has hired a bunch of guys. We don't know if they're going to work out or not. I mean, nobody knows. So this is I think but Matt Rule has to earn it, and he has to keep getting better, and he has to show by, let's go beat Illinois next year, or beat Indiana at home, or for heaven's sake, try a novel approach and try to beat Iowa. I mean, it's something different, but yeah, I think, I'm all for that. I think it's the problem. Nebraska football has never had a plan. It's never had a long-term plan. It's always been about short-term gains and trying to, keep our jobs. And this, nobody's had a long-term plan except, Osborne.
Right.
His plan was we're going to keep doing what we're doing. Because it's worked forever, and but I mean, even Frank Solich had to tear it up and reset, and I just don't know if there was ever a plan. And I mean, I remember Steve Peterson was like, "Well, there's no plan here." Well, then he hired Bill Kelly. He didn't have a plan either. So I mean, it's just I like this idea. I think it's time to step in and. We'll call it the Austin plan, and we'll give you full credit.
Hey,
I like that.
You know what? If I get full credit for bringing Nebraska football back to glory, I want my name on the state capitol. That's all I ask. Big ask, I know, but
we just settle for a column.
I would settle for a column. A Tom Shatel column with the Austin plan. I would frame that immediately. I actually got a paper copy of the paper just last week. I would get my second one in the calendar year if that happens. So. He's Tom Shatel. I'm Austin Norman. We got more of the Husker Football Hour next year, 93.7 The Ticket.
Industries has immediate job openings for precast production laborers and maintenance technicians. Concrete Industries offers great pay, health benefits, 401k, a wellness program, holidays, and paid time off. Apply today to earn a starting pay of $21.50 per hour plus a $1,500 hiring bonus. Concrete Industries is hiring all experience levels and offers on-the-job training. Start your career today as a precast production laborer or maintenance technician. Visit concreteindustries.com.
Don't be fooled by the typical holiday ads this year. A new car for your significant other is a dream, but not a likely reality. Why not upgrade the current car you have with a detail? This year's hot item is a gift certificate from Nebraska Auto Detail to make your car look and smell fully refreshed again. We all have clutter and we all make messes, but it doesn't have to stay like that. Give the gift of a clean car this holiday. Buy your certificate at NebraskaAutoDetail.com or call 402-601-5086 for an appointment today.
If you're seeking a career with a growing company, Gaina Trucking and Excavating is hiring and looking for additions to their team. Gaina Trucking has a strong team culture, competitive pay, 401ks, and benefits like health, dental, and vision. Drivers are guaranteed 40 hours per week, even in the winter months, and are home every night. Start your career today at Gaina Trucking and Excavating. Apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Ready, set, forward. Just announced 0% for 66 months with approved credit on all 2025 Ford F-150s at Zollner, Fort Beatrice. Save thousands in finance charges. If your current pickup loan's 4, 5, 6% or more, trade in today and receive 0% for up to 66 months on a brand new 2025 Ford F-150 of your choice at Zollner, Fort Beatrice, Nebraska's volume dealer with the hometown service you expect.
At Raising Cane's, we focus on being the best at one thing and getting it right every time. Which is why every chicken finger meal we serve is marinated, hand-battered, cooked to order, and made just for you. Quality isn't complicated, and our menu is proof.
Raising Cane's chicken fingers, one love.
Skip the line and order with our app or online.
This holiday season, bring home a tradition that tastes like celebration. Beatrice Bakery's world-famous fruitcake, baked in the heart of Nebraska with rich, golden batter, real cherries, pineapple, crunchy nuts, and a splash of old-fashioned goodness. It's moist, flavorful, and crafted the same way for generations. It's the fruitcake that turns skeptics into believers. Find Beatrice Bakery fruitcake online at grandmasbakeshop.com or at your favorite retailer, and make your holidays deliciously unforgettable with the help of Beatrice Bakery's world-famous fruitcake.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals just like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
Bagels and Joe is the perfect place for breakfast or lunch in December. Try one of their delicious breakfast sandwiches or grilled breakfast burritos. Don't forget to snag a gift card for stocking stuffers and bring your family in from out of town. With 4 locations in Lincoln and 1 in Seward, Bagels and Joe.
At Fairway Meat Market, you're family, and as part of the family, they want to save you money on your meat and groceries. Now through December 14th, enjoy USDA Choice 8-ounce New York strips, $6.99 each, 85% lean ground beef, $4.98 per pound, all natural boneless chicken breasts, $2.48 per pound, and holiday gift boxes are available for $50. That's all at Fairway Meat Market in the Rockledge Square Shopping Center, just south of 84th and Van Dorn.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Infrastructure, a veteran-owned local company proudly serving Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the surrounding areas. Bauer provides quality work at an affordable price, and they're growing rapidly. If you want to experience a career with a fast-paced, family-friendly environment, visit BauerInfrastructure.com. They have top-of-the-line benefits, year-round work, even through the winter. Bauer, usher in the new era of infrastructure to an area near you. And as always, go Big Red!
Hungry for something real? Come to HF Crave, Lincoln's favorite spot for burgers that are anything but basic. Locally sourced Nebraska beef, hand-cut fries, and bold flavors that'll make your taste buds cheer. Whether you're craving the classics or ready to try something wild, they've got the burger that gets you. HF Crave. Fresh, local, craveable. Find them at 48th and Holdridge or order online at hfcrave.com. For remote starters, audio upgrades, and more, there's only one place to go. Auto Sounds of Lincoln at 48th and O.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
That's right. Welcome back in. It is the Husker Football Hour here at 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Austin Norman with you here at 10 at 40 Street on our Allo Fiber VIP line. We have Tom Shatel of the Omaha World Herald. Tom, you mentioned the offensive line, right? Obviously, the position coach transition. Jeep Wade is in town and coaching Nebraska. Nebraska's going up against a program in Utah that seems to have had the offensive line figured out. One of the best rushing teams in the country. Its bookend tackles probably both getting selected relatively early in the NFL draft in April of 2026. When you look at the offensive and defensive line, Tom, how much of how Nebraska performs in the bowl game should weigh on Nebraska's coaches' minds as they have an eye on the transfer portal and what those two rooms look like for the 2026 season?
Oh, I don't know. I think this is. I mean, this game is not some. It's not some kind of mystery, matchup or anything. It's like playing Iowa or the old Wisconsin. I mean, this is smash mouth, and these guys are going to line up and do what they do. So, Nebraska's faced this before in the Big Ten. Utah is very good at it. They're actually kind of an outlier in the Wild West Big 12. But they're very good at this, and so you throw in the extra factor that they care now very much about winning this game. So I wouldn't put too much on this game if you're Nebraska. You just what we talked about. What do you want to whatever you want to be, you're not going to necessarily be able to do it right now. So, but I think you get a plan for next season, the spring. Who are we on defense? I think they know that, what they want to do. But when are we on offense? And then go into the portal. I don't necessarily think how they do it against Utah is going to change any of that. It really shouldn't. I think this is just a bowl game. It's a good day for the fans. I know people in Omaha that are going out there. Las Vegas, nice weather deal, golf, and all that stuff. So I think this is a game you want to win, but it's not a game that's going to change the program either way.
I tend to agree. Do you carry that same analysis over to TJ Lateef? Can we learn anything more about him in a game like this?
No, because, maybe. Yeah, every time he plays right now, he still hasn't played very much. So I think you're learning about him all the time. But, what do you – I feel like they don't have an offense tailored for him because he had to come in on short notice. So they'll do that in the off season. They're probably doing some of that right now. But no, I think the reset happens after the game. I think what they do with him is they'll just try to give him a few things that he can do well. And I don't think, I know Utah is good, but I don't necessarily know if their defense is as good as Penn State or Iowa. If it is, holy crap. But you're not going to have Emmett Johnson in this game. So, it's going to be one, he's going to probably have to do a little bit more. But I think there'll be some design runs and design plays, maybe get him out of the pocket and let him either throw it or run it, RPO, that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I look at that offensive line. I'm going, okay, what kind of blocking is he going to have? So, anyway, it's. But yeah, I think every time he plays right now, you learn more about him. So, I think the stuff for next season. I don't think anything that happens in this game is going to tell us about next season.
I think that's fair. I'll add this too on the transfer portal and financials discussion. The two positions sound I think Nebraska needs to stay away from spending money on would be the wide receivers and the defensive backs. I think you got two young coaches in there you bring in for a reason. And not to say Nebraska hasn't had success, mining the transfer portal for players at those positions, but I think that you hire coaches for a reason. You've been excited about the young talent in that room for a couple of years now. Not saying Dane Key wasn't worth it to Nebraska. I get why they did it. But if this is a reset for Nebraska and they're going to spend judiciously, I think you trust especially your wide receivers and defensive backs, coaches, young guys that you brought in to work with the seemingly excellent play that they seem to have in those rooms.
I think this program has been about wide receivers for way too long. And no offense to those guys. Yeah. They're all great players. But remember the time Mike Riley brought in Keyshawn Johnson's kid and all his buddies from California, and people were going gaga about these receivers all are coming here, and it's like it's time to spend some money on the big uglies. Let's start paying for linemen. I mean, nothing doesn't matter who the offensive coordinator calling plays. There aren't plays that no play is going to work without blocking. They're all bad plays if you're not blocking. So Nebraska needs to build an identity around the offensive line. Man, I've been calling for that for 20 years, and nobody listens to me. Maybe finally they should have. I mean, usually they're right. Why would they listen to the sports hack? He's always wrong. But this time I'm right. Build the thing around offensive linemen, finally. Please.
We can call the Tom Shatel plan, and you can write a column on it.
I've been yelling at them. They slammed the door on me. That's okay. They know better.
Well, that's their prerogative. That's their prerogative. Maybe just 20 years later, someone will finally turn an ear to the Tom Shatel plan. But Tom, speaking of blocking, if you don't block, you can't win. Nebraska volleyball didn't really block and didn't really win. Mm-hmm. Kind of a letdown in Lincoln there yesterday afternoon. A magical season comes to an end prematurely in the Elite Eight at home.
Yeah, it was just such an incredible, epic. It turned into the game. I mean, it was like an insane roller coaster, and you felt the waves of anxiety. A&M. At the beginning, the girl saves the ball, diving into the bench, and the place erupts. Incredible noise. You think, okay, they're going to go crazy here. Then A&M takes the punch, and they, you got to give them so much credit for hanging in there. And playing a team like Nebraska, you're either going to raise your level to an unbelievable level, or you're going to back down. And I think we saw that all week. KU wasn't up to it, and so that was bam, bam, bam. Over in an hour or so. A&M was physical and a little bit, cocky and really fed off it, and so that was a problem. And so suddenly they're ahead, and you felt things get a little tight. I mean, you could see it. So there was a combination of Nebraska playing, and maybe not all their players playing, they're building their A game, and people subbing out, but then the comeback, they fought back so hard to win that fourth. That's the craziest thing I've ever seen in that fourth set. And on top of it, they've got people with the flu. Their best player, arguably, Bergen Riley, is not even sure she can play out there, and she keeps playing. It just had all this stuff going on, and I just felt like, it's too bad they didn't get it done. And it's been 3 years now where they fell short. I just, sometimes I think the program can be its own worst enemy. It's just there's so much talent, and they're so good that nothing but the national championship is going to work. And that's not how sports works. Sports a lot of times you fall into a national title. A lot of times it just happens, and you don't really know. You weren't counting on it. Yeah, and I think sometimes basketball may be better served sometimes just by not having that expectation. Just go play and do it. I'm not saying that's been a problem, but it's just they've got another weight on their back next year. They got this thing, they didn't do it again. So, but I got to say also, I wrote this in my column. After kind of digesting what I saw yesterday and the emotional scenes afterwards of parents and tears and just the whole thing, the whole scope of it finally being over, and just the disappointment and the crushing pain of it all. I agree to respect the program more, and I feel like if anybody can handle this kind of disappointment, it's Nebraska volleyball and their fans. I feel like, I've watched in awe of this program since 1991. They recruit the best kids. They're from class families. They're great students. They're smart. They work hard. They're good people, and they're really talented. And they put them in a culture that where they get pushed to go beyond their limits, and they get incredible coaching, and they all become leaders in their own right. It's a great program for developing incredible people and players and athletes. And they're very mature. I mean, Harper Murray yesterday was this became this person that maybe we hadn't seen or didn't know yet, and she's growing before our eyes. And I just think you got the Husker fans who live for the game. The volleyball fans live for the essence of the purity and all the nuances of volleyball that I'll never understand. But they get the game, and so they understand what they saw yesterday, while disappointing, was the highest level, and they have an appreciation for that, and they have respect for the opponent and what they had to do to win that game, but also respect for their own team. And I think you throw that all together, and man, basketball volleyball is an amazing thing. And you'd love to win a national championship, and it's a bummer, and it's going to last for a long time. But being part of Nebraska volleyball is one hell of a consolation.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's a top-notch program. I have nothing but the utmost respect for it. And I think it's both a reason and an excuse to point out that Nebraska was down players, and there was the flu. And I think it also is worth pointing out it's got to be harder now than ever to win a national championship in college volleyball, in large part due to how Nebraska has helped elevate the sport. I mean, even 10, 15 years ago, it was which two of these three programs essentially are going to be playing in the national championship match. Is it Penn State, Nebraska, or Stanford, right? There's so much more parity. There's so many more talented players, talented coaches, talented teams in college volleyball. And that absolutely, I think, deserves to be pointed out. But Tom, then I do think it's also fair to point out that this was supposed to be the class for Nebraska. It's supposed to be the class that sent John Cook out a winner, and maybe it was going to be his last 4-year class. Obviously, that didn't come to fruition, and it just hasn't delivered yet. And it's not that they can't, it's that they haven't. I would say the same thing maybe for some of the players, right? Harper Murray, it's not that she can't go all Michaela Fecke, but plain and simple, she hasn't yet. And I'm really curious to see if this is an offseason where Nebraska is able to answer those questions and they finally get that title, if that brings joy or relief. I know that's something Danny Busby Kelly talked about, instilling that sense of joy in her team and trying to take some of that weight off its back. But for a championship or bust program in a championship or bust class that had different members of this class put that expectation on itself, even if it's understandable how much more difficult it is to win a championship now in volleyball maybe than ever before, man, that'd be a really tough look to go through these 4 years, be this close, and come out without a ring.
Well, that's what they have to overcome. They have to forget that. They have to just not think about that, even though they'll be reminded of it probably on social media every day. Yeah, I mean, imagine the pressure.
Yeah.
And winning a national championship isn't about pressure. It's about execution. It's about chasing joy. It's about momentum. It's about what we're seeing with Fred Hoiberg right now. That's joy.
Mm-hmm.
That's momentum. That's chemistry. And nobody expects anything out of those guys. So they got a hell of a deal going right now. The people will be jumping on their bandwagon, but they really don't think, well, they'll just lose in the tournament again or whatever. Their bar is so much lower, even though it's high for the basketball program. Never won a game in the tournament. But imagine having to do that. It's hard. And everybody wants to, it's like A&M coach yesterday said, Nebraska's our model. Well, hell, thanks a lot. I mean, everybody's trying to be in Nebraska. And so they get up for them. And it's the margin for error is basically zero, because somebody's always trying to knock you off. So, we thought this team was above all it, but guess what? They're only human, and it's hard. And you know what? They may not win it. They may go through the whole thing and not win it. And then, but they aren't the first team that's ever happened to. There's some other. I think of some Nebraska football teams that fell short every year, and never won it. Great players, like Turner Gill, and Remington, and all those guys. I mean, hell, it's sometimes it doesn't get done.
Yeah, I mean, you think 83, you think 93, you think 96. I think probably the first ones.
Absolutely. I mean, Trev Albert's the guy that was there yesterday in maroon, trying to console Harper Murray. He gets it. I mean, Texas A&M never won a national title in anything, have they? Or not lately. So I mean, everybody goes through this stuff. So, the thing I've learned as I've gotten older and older and older is, which beats not getting older, is that when you get to a certain age, you appreciate what you think about and Harper said this yesterday, and it blew me away that she knew this. But when you get older, you think about friendships and relationships and memories and the stuff you went through together. And, I've known people that had national championships and they don't know where their ring is, or they don't know where, it's like, Angie Oxley-Barron's Creighton last week. I talked to her about being on the 2000 Nebraska team, John Cook's undefeated team, and she barely knew where the national championship they got that close. She barely knew where that thing was. I mean, people at a certain age don't care about that stuff anymore. They care more about it now, and so that's no consolation now. But eventually, these guys will have a bond, win or lose, that will never be broken, and that'll mean a lot to them one day. It doesn't mean anything to the guy on social media right now, but or the people in the stands right there. Everybody's crushed, but when you're crushed, that just means that's how much it means, and that's how special it is to get it. So we'll try again next year, and maybe but it won't be about off season, and it won't be about. Or maybe it will be. Maybe there'll be a missing piece show up in off season, but it'll be about next December. And some of John Cook's better teams didn't. They went to the Final Four on the road. They won at Washington, or they won somewhere else. They didn't win it at home. Sometimes being at home just makes it harder, but even though not easier. So anyway, we're the lucky ones. We get to we get to talk to them. We get to watch them. You know, everybody's they're part of our sports town or sports state, and it's great. So.
I feel bad relegating Nebraska men's basketball to a footnote in our last 5 minutes here, Tom, but 11-0, ranked number 15 in the country, highest ranking they've had in a long time, earliest they've been ranked this high in even longer. The first 4 years of Fred Hoiberg certainly seemed to have validated the last 3 years of Fred Hoiberg. You know, the changes that he made, it was hard to wait through it, I'm sure, for Husker basketball fans, but whatever it took, Husker men's basketball fans are living their best life right now.
Well, he got a second act, and that's another reason to say, okay, Matt Rule, just, you know, and hopefully, you know, change to the right things. But yes, it's this is the Hoiberg they hired.
Yeah.
You know, 2019, Bill Moose, remember that guy? Introduces, you know, Fred Hoiberg was an unbelievable hire. I mean, Scott Frost was this other guy that, you know, I mean, he was like this other thing because he was playing in Nebraska and all this stuff. But Fred Hoiberg was a national guy who could have gotten hired anywhere in basketball, who wasn't from here. He chose to come here because he was a Husker fan and all this stuff. And so, you know, we all thought we were getting the Iowa State program from 2014, 2015 that went to the Sweet 16, won the Big 12 tournament, was incredibly, you know, incredible players, NBA guys, offensive, you know, scoring. And once again, these coaches that come to Nebraska don't read the fine print. The fine print is you're in the Big Ten, and the Big Ten doesn't adjust to you. You adjust to the Big Ten. And so Fred went through a few years there where he had a ace recruiter / GM kind of, you know, Matt Ablanassa, who's been hired. He's been around a lot of great programs, knows what he's doing, but it was the wrong fit. Trying to get 4-star guys from all over the country to come here. He didn't really respect the Nebraska players. And Fred got it right with defense, hard work, you know, rebounding, you know, playing together, the Big Ten way. And, you know, before you can get to the NCAA tournament, you have to win Big Ten games. So it's been, and they kind of, I don't know if they've stumbled onto this team or if they expected this, but forget the record, forget the ranking. It's just what we're watching is incredible. This team is, people, you know, coaches would kill for a team like this that plays together and plays hard, and they pick each other up. And, you know, the role players embrace it and can't wait for the next game to do it all over again. I mean, their rebounding is incredible. That's that's stuff you almost can't teach. You just have to have it inside them. So it's a wonder. And I would just tell people, embrace the AP thing all you want, but the AP poll in college basketball means even less than it does in college football. It means nothing. What they should be calling up on their computers. They can do it every day. Is the NCAA net ranking. Yeah, it's updated every single day based on the games that were played the night before. And Nebraska is number 12 there. That's an unbelievably high ranking. That's for teams that usually get a 3 seed. Okay, so I'm not saying that's going to happen, but there are a couple of bracketologies out. Joe Lenardi's out. He was out last Tuesday. They'll probably come out tomorrow with an update. He had Nebraska as the number 7 seed going to I think it was Portland. And there was another one called Hoops Headquarters website, whatever the Hoops Headquarters got Nebraska as the number 3 seed in Oklahoma City. So the key to this net ranking is, you know, you want to be, the more you win, you know, the better your seed's going to be and the better matchup you'll get in March, right?
Yep.
It's all about the matchup. You don't want to be an 8 or 9. You know, you really don't. You want to be above that. So it's a great time to be a Husker Hoop fan. You've got all this stuff you could talk about But the best part is, and I'm going to write about this later this week, this is a team I really enjoy watching. And once in a while you get a team like that. And there have been teams over the years, the 1988 K-State team, 1983 Missouri team. There was some, the 94 Nebraska team, 2014 Creighton. They're just teams I love to watch because of who the characters, but the chemistry and just the way they played. They're just fun to watch. And this is another one of those teams. So, you know, it's, and the other thing I can't is great about this is obviously Sam Hoiberg.
Yeah.
But Kent Pavelka, what's he going to do next? He almost passed out Saturday.
Kent might have an aneurysm. We got to get a medical bracelet on that guy.
Hey, following him along this year is going to be one of the best parts about this.
It sure will be. It's a lot going on in Husker land. Nebraska men's basketball is rolling. Sour note for volleyball and more swirling storm clouds around Nebraska football. Will the sun start peeking through? Remains to be seen. Tom, great to catch up with you again. I know it's been a couple weeks. Thanks as always for your time. We'll do it again soon.
Thanks, sir. See you next week.
That's Tom Shatel with us on our Allo Fiber VIP line. Allo is where they understand the importance of exceptional service with local heart. I'm getting out of the way. When we return, it'll be all in. Ridge Levitt, Caleb Smith in the house from Nebraska Wrestling. That's next here, 93.7 The Ticket, ticketfm.com.
Concrete Industries has immediate job openings for precast production laborers